Hi men, it's Chad Sandberg with Firebrand Ministries, and I'm coming to you live today in Tulsa, Oklahoma, outside my house. I just spoke to a man named Raymond. Gave me some great topics to speak on, something I can relate to, and one of them was cutting soul ties with women of our past, women we've had relationships with outside of marriage, and something I've struggled with, something this man deeply struggled with until he got revelation of it. That's what I want to speak to you about today. He had over 653 women in his life that he'd been with sexually, and he was sent to prison, and he was in prison, and he was just fighting with it and fighting with it and fighting with it. And finally he talked to the chaplain there, and the chaplain told him, he said, you know what, I want you to take a legal pad, and I want you to write down every woman that you've been with. And this man has a very photographic memory, so I can imagine all the videos is how he had put it, were running through his head continually when he was locked in that prison cell with that other man for such a long time. But anyway, he said, make a list of all these women. He said, then send me a kite and get back a hold of me, and we're going to go over it. So he did that. About 3 weeks passed, and that chaplain was like, wow, I haven't heard from Raymond. He says, I'm gonna have to reach out to him. And so he did, and he got a hold of Raymond. He said, what's going on? Did you make that list? He said, you know what, chaplain? He says, I'm still working on it. It was like 543 women. He was like, wow. He said, we need to talk now. He said, he sent for him. He came down to his office, and they were talking. And he says, you know, you have a soul tie to all these, each and every one of these women. There was like 643, I think, total. He says you have a soul tie to every one of them. Every woman you were with, your soul connected with their soul, and with every other soul they had been with. So imagine that. I mean, it would get up into the tens of thousands. So every soul you link every soul that you tie your soul to, you're tied to all her souls and all your souls of her past and of your past. So he had all that going on through his head. So that chaplain told him, he said, I want you to take this list. And he says, I want you to go back to your cell. And he says, I want you to pray over every one of those women. He says, I want you to forgive them. I want you to ask God to forgive you. He says, I want you to tell them verbally and tell God that I'm giving back to you what I took, and I'm taking back from you what I gave. He says, it's like scrubbing your soul. He says, it's like scrubbing parasites off your soul. Each and every one, every time you forgive, you're scrubbing that parasite off of your soul. And what happens when you scrub something off your soul, it begins to strengthen up, and it's not as heavy, and there's not as much, you don't have all that past laid upon your soul anymore. So you're, in a sense, you're cutting off all those parasites, all those memories, all those past videos and memories in your mind. It's just like a boat that picks up all the barnacles from the sea. If that boat never got cleaned, sooner or later those barnacles would sink that boat. All those things that attached to it would pull that boat down so far that it could no longer float. So that's what we're doing to our souls when we're forgiving each one of those women one at a time, when we're on our knees facing God, asking for forgiveness, forgiving those women, giving back what we took, taking back what we gave, and we are erasing those memories out of our lives. And I asked this man how'd that go when he got finished. He said, you know, Chad, it was the most refreshing thing I've ever done. And this man was a porn star. He was he still is a good-looking man, muscular, fit, smart, funny, clever. So all the women were constantly drawn to him. So he had many experiences to shed from his life and from his soul. And he said, after I did that, Chad, he said, it was the most refreshing thing I've ever done in my life. And I want to challenge all you men that if you struggle with such things, as I think just about every man I've met does, to get on your face before God, make your list, forgive, take back, and refresh your soul. It's your time, men. Excuses only sound good to those giving them. So I love you, and I look forward to speaking to you in the future. Have a good day. Bye-bye.